Police in the town of Paris say speed may have been a factor in a deadly motorcycle crash that happened this week. Police say they were called to Park Street around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. They say Carlton Merrill was passing another motorcycle when he went off the road into an embankment. They say he died from his injuries at the hospital. Investigators say this is the second deadly crash involving a motorcycle in the town of Paris in the last 30 days. A break in a 33-year-old unsolved murder in the town of Kittery. Maine State Police say they have arrested Daniel Jolly in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, early this morning, charging him with the murder of Maxine Batomsky. She was found dead in her home in Kittery in 1993. Police are not yet saying how she was killed, but they say Jolly knew her because he worked for a company that delivered oxygen equipment to Batomsky's home. Police say advances in DNA testing was one factor that allowed them to arrest Jolly. They say he will remain in New Hampshire until he's extradited to Maine. People in Lewiston are trying to curb gun violence, especially among teens. We told you earlier this week about 5 teenage boys arrested and charged with criminal conspiracy to commit murder. Last night, 100 people gathered at Calvary Chapel in Lewiston to ask questions and air concerns during a conversation organized by the conservative news outlet, The Maine Wire. CENTER Maine's Christian Harsa shows us why people hope this community conversation is not the last.
And it's really hard to feel Lewiston strong when there's so much violence, especially gun violence.
Anger, frustration, even desperation for something to change. All coming out during a community conversation on gun violence after 5 teens were arrested in June, charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Even the district attorney understands.
The frustration with juveniles is legitimate. You all should be upset. Change Augusta. You've got to change Augusta.
Which is why candidates for governor were there, Ben Midgley and Robert Wessels. Even Lewiston School Committee member Janet Bowden is running to represent in the House in Augusta.
I feel like there are a lot of people in Lewiston who just are not being heard.
This conversation,
let's be hopeful.
Organized by the Maine Wire's John Featherston.
We might not get a solution here tonight, but what we've done tonight by just being here is start a conversation
about seeing more federal and local enforcement.
Our police department needs to get some assistance. Let's get them what they need.
Lewiston teacher Katie Krantz also wants harsher punishment.
Let's get them out of Long Creek. Let's start putting them into the big jail.
I can't believe that Lewiston's came to this point.
But some residents, like Jason Paul, worry about representing the entire community.
When the community that is most impacted and most affected is not here and was not legitimately brought here.
Striking a chord, and not just with opponents.
We want our whole community here because it will take all of us to find a solution.
A solution that Lewiston Police Chief Carly Conley says she wants to be a part of.
Do what we can as a community, come together and work together to quell this violence that we're seeing in the city of Lewiston, specifically with youth violence.
Conley hopes this conversation is the first of many. In Lewiston, Christian Harsa, CENTER Maine.
Some of the attendees expressed frustration that Lewiston's mayor, Carl Schelin, was not present. Schelin, in a statement, told CENTER Maine, quote, "I never planned to attend. Last night was a campaign event for a Republican gubernatorial candidate run by political operatives. Youth gun violence is a real issue for our city, and efforts are underway to provide support to parents. We are also working to address accountability gaps in the system," end quote. In Massachusetts, Karen Reed is filing a lawsuit against state police and the Canton Police Department. That lawsuit accuses police departments of being negligent in hiring and training of officers. It alleges that police mishandled the investigation into the death of Reed's boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. You may remember that Reed was acquitted of the most serious charges in that case last year. Massachusetts State Police declined to address the allegations in the lawsuit. They cited ongoing efforts to improve accountability. City leaders in Canton said they could not comment because they had not yet received the lawsuit. We're taking a closer look at the economic impact of data centers. Last night, we explained some of the most common reasons for support and opposition. Some of the perceived pros include job growth and tax revenue. Well, an analysis by the National Conference of State Legislatures found at least 38 states offer some sort of tax break to entice data center projects. Maine is one of the states that does not. Representatives from the Data Center Coalition say the centers contribute tax dollars to the communities they're in and support many of the products and services we use regularly. But some people question why these facilities need tax breaks in the first place.
We didn't need to bring them here. They were coming here. And if a business is coming here regardless, why should we have to give them a tax break?
Anything from, the fun stuff, the streaming services, the online gaming, the keeping in touch with our loved ones via virtual calls, all of that supported by data centers.
According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, lawmakers in 14 states are considering banning data center development. Maine has a council that's currently studying the impact of data centers. That council held its first meeting yesterday. It plans to meet again on June 23rd.